Hey, what's going on?
It is Scotch for Dummies +1.
Half.
Shenanigans with us.
Yeah.
Half dummy.
Hello,
Yeah,
hello.
he's learning to love Scotch.
No.
Big shenanigans.
I'm enjoying.
Just say it's great to have you guys back. The last week's show was awesome running solo, but my
Golf
anxiety
clap
was
for Mark
too
for
rough.
last week.
He did
a great
Gentlemen,
job.
great to
Cheers
see
to you, sir.
Welcome back.
And
everyone.
welcome to everybody that's on the show. Kind of missed our Thursday last week, but it was all good. Lots of people logging in now, and I'm really glad they are because we've got some cool stuff going to happen tonight. Before we get into that, we definitely want to take a quick time out and acknowledge somebody who's already on the chat, Tom, for sending us a bottle of this week's review. And what was this week's review?
Blackheart. The Blackheart.
The Bruichladdich Blackheart.
Blackheart.
And watch the review if you haven't already,
Yep.
because it's really good juice.
And we'll be talking about it next week.
Yeah, and we're gonna come back and we'll revisit this bottle
And an awesome looking bottle.
on next week's live, because this week we are honored to have a special guest. And I'm
Is it
sure
me?
Is it you? I feel like it. I haven't seen you guys in so long.
Is it Mike?
No, we hopefully everybody's heard about it, and that's why people are coming on. We really tried to make sure that it was put out there, but we have someone special from Compass Box, right?
Yes,
Compass Box. Everybody wants to know what's going on at Compass Box.
The Rebels,
yeah,
But
busting
the best looking bottles in whiskey.
absolutely. Best marketing, labels, everything is
Yeah,
cool.
they got
We're
that.
going to get into this bottle that he provided for us. We're going to review it with him, and we're going to talk about all things Compass Box. So without further ado, let me introduce tonight's special guest. His name is Pete Friello. Got it. I had to remember how to pronounce it. Pete Friello. Pete, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
You know,
good,
yeah.
man.
Awesome.
So I am just going to really turn it over to you and allow you to talk about where you come from, who you are, what your actual title is with Compass Box, how'd you get to Compass Box. Just
Are you
tell us-
hiring?
Yeah, exactly. Do you need an assistant? I don't know. Anything and everything that can bring us up to speed about who you are before we dive into, the distillery.
Okay, sure. Well, my name's Pete Friello.
Friello.
Told you.
I
We
screwed
went
up.
over this.
We went over this.
It's okay, we're dummies.
I'm a dummy.
Had a
Friello.
Yeah, and I am my title is the Southeast Region Manager for the Compass Box Whiskey Company. I cover 8 states in the Southeast and into the Midwest.
Okay.
My background really has been wine and spirits for going on 18 years now. I studied a lot of wine and a lot of spirits working on the wholesaler side for 12 years. And then I've been on the producer side for the last 6 or so. So I'll be in about 30 days. It'll be about 2 years working for John Glazer in the Compass Box Whiskey Company.
That's cool.
And I couldn't be happier. I love what I do.
Yeah, I think we're all jealous of what you do.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. Man. Are you hiring?
I mean, you guys have a pretty good gig there too.
Can't complain.
This is a love.
I
This is
have
a
to
passion.
admit, this is a passion for
This
us.
is definitely a passion.
Yeah.
Drinking scotch, a lot of scotch.
It's
Yeah,
not all
okay.
bad. It's not all bad.
No, not at all. So you said you cover the Southeast region. How many regions are there in the United States for Compass Box, and then globally? How is Compass Box divided up around the world when it comes to doing what you do?
Well, first I'll say, Compass Box has a pretty far reach for in comparison to the amount of people we have representing us. We're a fairly small company. We have only 15 people worldwide that work for Compass Box. That includes John Glazer.
People.
Yeah.
And only 4 in the United States. So to answer your question, there's, with all the states in the United States, it's pretty much covered by 3 of us. There's 3 region managers, and we have our vice president up in the Northeast as well, who helps out quite a bit as well with covering some ground for us. So 4 of us total that cover the whole United States.
We met the vice president, and Mark. Is that his name, Mark?
That's right, Mark Nicolat.
Yeah, he came out to Vine and Table and did a Compass Box tasting, and we happened to meet him there. So, 4 people to do the whole states. How many people do what you do outside of the United States, just globally?
It's actually less on the sales side. It's quite a bit less. I mean, the majority of our employees are based in London. We have 10 out of 15 are based in London, and that's right in our headquarters, mostly covering operations and accounting, marketing, etc.
Okay.
So there's a few. There's I want to say about 3 or 4 people outside of London that.
And so for 15 employees, what's the rough number of bottles you sell per year?
Oh man, good question. I don't know that exactly. That's probably something I should know, but I'm so focused on just selling as many as possible.
Yeah.
That is your job.
So do you have U.S. numbers that you can share on rough?
I would say probably 40 to 50,000
bottles per year. Okay, in the U.S.
So you guys are the scrappy underdog of the Scotch world, then.
Yeah, I mean we're a small company. Like I said, I think our reach is much further than the amount of people that we have. I mean it's in my opinion, it's just an incredible brand, and it's taken on an amazing following in just 18 years that we've been around. And when you think about the world of Scotch whiskey and the rich history and tradition, 18-year-old company, we're infants in this.
You're
yeah.
But it's kind of ironic, the fact that you guys are infants, as you say, but yet you're causing so many waves. You guys are ruffling a lot of feathers in the industry, and you're for being a small newborn, you're a big presence. It's amazing, and there's definitely a following to Compass Box, right?
Absolutely,
yeah, huge.
Certainly. Well, in an industry that is so steadfast to tradition. In an industry that is dominated by a few large companies that haven't traditionally done a lot of things outside of the straight line, that's what we're based on. That's what John Glazer started this company to do, is to innovate and put out creative and innovative, great Scotch whiskey.
So if we could, let's talk about that. So John is searching the world for whiskeys, and I guess mostly Scotch. I guess he's searching Scotland for whiskeys. And tell us about how, or what you know about the processes. Does he find whiskeys and then formulate from that, or does he have an end in mind and he tries to find whiskeys that will make that image?
Good question. I couldn't even imagine going back 18 years to when I think what John's vision was 18 years ago was more like knowing what he wanted to do and finding the whiskeys to do that. Okay. We have a blending room in London where John is able to acquire all kinds of single parcels of different malt and grain whiskeys from all over Scotland. And it's his chemistry lab in there, and he's able to. I don't know what's going on in his head. I'm sure a lot of people wish that they did because exactly. The output is so brilliant. But yeah, I mean his idea is to take one central component whiskey and build off of it with complementary flavors and profiles. Yeah. So I don't know if that answers your question, but. We're able to do something that not one distillery can do. We're a blending house. We bring back the the old art of blending.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and what I find interesting about the whole company and concept is that, John had access to unique single barrels or lots of whiskey, and instead of being like an independent bottler and just bottling those whiskeys, which were obviously good, he wouldn't be bottling them as a blend if they weren't quality whiskey to begin with, but he chose to put forth the extra effort to kind of make it into something more, and I find that very compelling to try it out and see what his vision was.
That is really, I hadn't thought of it that way. But yeah, you Gordon MacPhail's and all the other independent bottlers just say, hey, this is a Mortlock 15 or,
and you get exceptional Scotch that way. Right. There's nothing wrong with it at all. But I find it interesting that he took it to another level.
Yeah. And what else makes it different is your traditional blending houses. Let's just like a Johnny Walker or and that's a great example. They produce good whiskey, but they've got a core range, and they reproduce that core range over and over and over again. Whereas Compass Box is continually coming out with a new creation. There's just a whole new recipe, whole new blend, whole new.
I would think that's much more difficult.
It's a kind of a specialty artisan craft type thing.
You don't have a core range. You don't have the casks for a core range.
Well, you have a lot more options. I mean, you can blend from all kinds of stuff, right? I mean, that's the specialty of what you're doing is you're like, I'll pick all these different things and make my own Compass Box blend.
The only way you're going to get a long run of the same is if you buy a lot.
Right.
A lot.
Five different.
That's right.
So
5 different casks.
Well, actually, we actually do have a core range of whiskeys that are blends. Our signature range currently consists of that represents all 3 types of blends that come from Scotland: a blended Scotch whiskey, a blended Scotch grain whiskey, and a blended Scotch malt whiskey as well. There's Peat Monster, the Spice Tree, Oak Cross are our blended malts, and Hedonism, of course, our blended grain, which was the first expression that John put out as a businessman, which I'd say is pretty innovative. I would say to put out a blended grain whiskey is his first expression.
Right. That's a bold deal.
You got.
Did he say?
You want to see something really cool, Pete?
Did Pete say Peat Monster?
He did. That is a Peat Monster.
I did. Look at that.
Well, hang on a second. Go on, Pete. Why don't you match that? Can you do that?
I gotta reach down. It's behind me.
He's got a bottle too.
No, you're right. Yeah. He's gonna go get it. I'll leave mine up there then if he's gonna grab it.
Look at
there
that.
you go.
Yeah.
Nice. Almost empty though.
Yours is a lot lower than ours.
That is a Peat Monster right there. That's the real deal. That's a monster of a bottle.
Dude, this thing is amazing.
And it's cask strength. That's what I love about it.
It's great.
Yeah.
That might last us at least a month.
You know what?
At most.
Since you brought that up, though, I wanted to bring the topic up. Tom, one of our subscribers, had asked a question of me, whether it was on Facebook or whatever, that he found a bottle of this. It was at maybe one of the Bennies or something.
Yeah,
should I get it? And I said yeah, because I think it's going to be more of a collector type thing. Even if you open it, it's great. What do you think to that, Pete? Would you advise to buy it? I mean, obviously you're selling for Compass Box.
It's like, buy 2.
Buy 3 of them. Buy the whole show. But, I mean, how...
Well, here's my unbiased opinion is we made it one time, and we never made it after that. And that was several years ago. So if you see it on the shelf, I'd say pick it up.
Because you can't get it.
Right. You're not going to... It's not coming back, right? It's just one of those unique things, so... Uh-oh. Tom just super chatted us for 25.
Tom Martin super chatted us 25. Pete, it was great meeting you at Benny's even a few weeks back. Thanks for the great pours. Any news on the Muse arrival date?
Muse arrival date. You knew that was coming, right?
Muse should be. I don't know about Indiana. And Tom's in Indiana, correct?
No,
where's
he's in
Tom?
Chicago.
Oh, he's in Chicago. The product's been ordered. It's probably on a truck. It'll probably be rolling out of our importer in New York tomorrow. So on the way to Chicago as we speak.
Nice.
All right.
So there you go, Tom. Get in line.
But there's not much of it. I can tell you that. There's not a lot. So call your local retailer and suck up to him.
I think they call him.
Yeah, they call him.
They like Tom.
Tom's got a great relationship.
then I'm coming over to his house.
Exactly.
Back in Chicago.
We do. I've been trying to keep eye on the chat on some of the questions, and there were 2 questions that I wrote down. First, to get back to your backstory and where you came from and what you do, is what's your favorite Compass Box whiskey, and then what's your favorite non-Compass Box whiskey?
Ooh, those are good questions.
All right.
So,
What do you got, Pete?
Good question. I think, my favorite Compass Box whiskey, my every day, even though when I say every day, I'm not drinking this every day, but typically if you see me at a whiskey fest or at a tasting, and I usually have a little glass because I have to, make sure that the product is good. I'm usually drinking Great King Street Glasgow blend. To me, it is just an amazing blend, and pound for pound, I think it's the best value in our portfolio, hands down.
I think we reviewed that one.
Yeah.
We did.
That is
a long
good.
time ago.
Okay, so
I have a
non-Compass
bottle of
Box.
It's great. Oh, okay.
Non-Compass Box. I'm not going to throw out some amazing whiskey that I tasted once at a whiskey fest, but I really like the stuff that Old Pulteney does. I usually find myself walking over to their table and drinking some of their selections.
I like their stuff too.
So yeah, I'll go with that.
I think they're bringing us to tears right now because they've discontinued their 21, but
Yeah, we had a nice little story with the Old Pulteney. With 12, we picked up out of we haven't done it for a while.
fun,
We were amazed how good it was. And then Tom R, of course,
Tom pulled us through on a
pulled the trigger on
21.
the 21 for us. We were like, holy moly, this is amazing.
Great.
I saw 8 bottles on the shelf last week.
So the final question that I've caught on chat right now to point is someone asked, I think it was Eric, wants to know what's the origin of the name Compass Box. Do you know where did John come up with this? Why Compass Box? What's that mean?
I've asked John this question. A lot of people ask John this question. The answer is he just liked the name. He liked the name. It doesn't didn't have any specific meaning to anything when he came up with the company. He liked the name. I think it refers to the box on old ships that held the navigation device. But the short answer is he just liked the name.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
It's his company. He can name it whatever he wants.
Right. He can, and honestly, I don't care what he names it. He keeps putting liquid like this in the bottle. I'm a fan.
Speaking of liquid
Yeah,
like
so-
this in the bottle.
Yeah, take it away, Sean. We poured some no name here.
So I have to confess that when Mark brought this bottle over, I did sneak a little bit. Normally I don't do that, but it was there and I was there and I thought, you know what, I'm going to get a little preview, little sample, right? And I enjoy Compass Box, but this one was even more than I had anticipated. It was extremely powerful Scotch.
It's rich.
It's a rich
and flavorful and everything that I love about drinking Scotch.
It's
is
one
in
of
this
those
glass.
scotches you pour and you step back and you can still smell it. It just like fills the room with nose.
Absolutely.
So I guess let's talk about what's in the bottle. Mark's got the
Come on,
the
Mark.
kind of breakdown, but the
I
main
do.
the main component, what John built the whole bottle around, is Ardbeg, right?
Correct. Yeah, this is a parcel of Ardbeg that he was able to acquire about, I want to say about 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, and was basically going to use it as like a complement whiskey into other whiskeys. As I was saying, he likes to use one main star component and then build around it with complements of oftentimes a little bit from Isla,
Yes.
maybe a little from the Highlands. But he landed on this. He landed on an expression that was peat forward. This is the peatiest expression that we've ever done. But even so, it's not over the top.
Yeah,
We're not trying to be
No.
like a lot of companies that really have a place for being the peatiest whiskey out there, and that's just not what we go for with this. We're going for a great blend.
I get that. Actually, on the finish, it doesn't finish quite like an Ardbeg would.
Yeah.
And I get some of those other Scotch flavors that you're putting in there show up on the palate towards the end, which is nice.
Yeah, you say it's the peatiest expression that you guys have put out, and most people would probably say, "Wow, it's more peaty than Peat Monster." Even if it's peatier than Peat Monster, it's definitely richer. It's more complex. There's so many other layers and nuances of flavor in there that you don't get in Peat Monster.
Let's dive into that question a little bit more. What does that mean, peatier? What does that really mean?
Well,
because if that's true,
technically it's got more parts per million of phenol, right?
Phenols, yeah. So
Correct.
With this, so it's got more phenol in it, but with this one, I think you get a much more peat forward on the initial palate. It really comes rushing out at you. Whereas the Peat Monster, it's there, but it doesn't just it doesn't hit you like a Kelpie or something like that. With this stuff, because this is at 48.9% ABV, so it's got the high alcohol, it's got that high peat, and really comes at you. But the finish is different.
Yes.
It's got a lot of eggnog on the
Yeah, but I mean, I get the seaweed and the sea and the brine and the
Yep.
Comparing this to Peat Monster, if you want to talk ppm, we had Jill Boyd, our one of our whiskey makers, John's assistant whiskey maker, who's brilliant, by the way. She let us know that the ppm of Peat Monster is about 23, and with No Name is only about 26.
Okay.
But I tend to think, I don't know, maybe you guys agree with me, but I tend to think the ppm scale is just a little, I don't know if it really tells the story of what's in the bottle.
No, I don't think it does. A lot of it is affected by your ABV, what you're aging, what kind of casks you're aging it in, how old it is. There's a lot of different things that go into it.
And I would even argue that there's different taste or types of peat. I mean, honestly, if you measure up a Lafroig against an Ardbeg against a Lagavulin, they're all, of course, peaty, right? That's what they're built on, but they're totally different peat tastes, earthy, charcoal,
So
it's different.
I've got a lot of interactions with analytical chemists, and I'm just curious what that analytical tool is to detect phenols, because there are lots of phenols.
It's chemistry.
There are lots of different phenols, so they're going to impart different flavors. There's guaiacol, there's actual metacresol, there's lots of phenols that will impart that flavor, but again, they're different flavors. So
sure.
I want to say the analytical tool.
Keep in mind that the base of this, as we said, is Ardbeg.
Yeah.
With Peat Monster is Lafroig. So you have two very different styles of Islay whiskey. Both complemented with a little bit of Highland whiskey and another Islay, a softer version of an Islay whiskey from Kalila. So this is about 11% Kalila, and then about 13% Clynelish, which is one of John Glazer's favorite malt whiskeys to work with.
That's a good one.
Okay.
That is totally different.
Well, I would say I'm a big fan of the Peat Monster. I love it, right?
Yeah, I do too.
This No Name, man, there's the combo.
There's just a lot more in it.
It's richer, I think. Doesn't hit you as strong. The palate, the finish, and the Peat Monster is a lot longer. Definitely peatier for me than the No Name. The No Name is just a really good blend of that sweetness to kind of peat.
What's the ABV on that big Peat Monster?
57.
It's strong.
Oh, it's 57. I was going to say, it definitely comes off strong.
So those that didn't see it, Drew poured us a dram of the, more than a dram legally, but of the Peat Monster, so we could compare it. And now this is the cask strength, so it's got a lot more alcohol to it, but these guys have tasted
it's completely and utterly a different glass, but the No Name is definitely...
The more I drink it, the more sweet and creamy it's getting.
Right.
And this glass is wonderful. I could sit and drink this for a while.
Let's finish talking about the recipe here. So you talked about the Ardbeg, the Kalila, the Clynelish, but then there's this fourth barrel, right? And you try to understand what this fourth barrel is. Now, mind you, according to the information sheets that you provided, that fourth barrel makes up only 0.5%. Okay, so 0.5% of that entire bottle. I can't imagine how does that have any influence on what we taste and smell? I'm curious to find that out. But what's made up of that 0.5%, excuse me, is a whole
Sure.
other breakdown of different scotches. It's 60% Clynelish, 20% Dalwayne, 20%, what is it? Pronounce that. Teenanich?
Teenanic.
Teenanic. Which one of our viewers, Cato, is drinking a glass of Teenanic right now.
Really?
And I told him that was
Oh.
interesting because I knew that was in this no name, and he said he's got his no name queued up, hasn't tried it yet. So, yeah, so 0.5%. And then you guys talk about this hybrid cask thing, and it stays in there for 4.5 years. And the question around the makeup of that 0.5%, it seems like Compass Box went out of their way to say it was aged Clynelish, it's aged Dalwayne, it's aged Tenninic. What is meant by aged? I mean, we know it's 3 years old.
You'll see, and I'll start by saying, as you know, and as fans of Compass Box know, that we're 100% transparent. That's one of the cornerstones of our
Sure.
company's core beliefs, is to be 100% transparent. We are blenders, and there's no secret sauce. We'll tell you exactly what is in every one of our blends, from where we got the parcels of whiskey from, what kind of wood casks they were aged in, how long they were in those casks, the marrying process, and how long they were in marrying casks. So the 0.5% that you see in this recipe, and you do see them in a few of our recipes. We've done these in some of our signature range items. We've done some of our limited editions items. When you see that, it typically just means that is 0.5% spice tree. And that is our Spice Tree blend. That is our Highland malt blend. So if you look at the recipe of Spice Tree, it is 60% Clynelish, 20% Dalwayne, and 20% Teenanic, all aged in our New French Oak hybrid cask, which is that hybrid cask is what we use for marrying a lot of our whiskeys. It's a first fill bourbon cask with New French Oak heads.
Yeah, we actually learned about that at the tasting that we went to, which we thought was very interesting.
Now it's coming together.
So I have a question for you, since you may be one of the few people that actually gets to do this. Are you ever able to try some of these casks of whiskey before they get blended together, so you can see kind of the before and after of the story?
Well, I've been to Scotland one time since I've been working for the Compass Box Whiskey Company.
What?
I actually, I'm selling whiskey in the United States. That's right.
That's your job. That's your job. Yeah, fair.
But when I was there, we did a tour of our facility outside of Edinburgh, and I did get to taste whiskey out of one cask. And it turns out it was a very special cask. So the answer is yes.
You got to tell us about that experience. You got to tell us about
Would you like
that.
to know what that cask is?
I would love
please.
to.
So we've got another limited edition that we're getting ready to release that Tom mentioned, called Hedonism the Muse.
Yep.
And a portion of that recipe, this is a 100% blended Scotch grain whiskey. A portion of that whiskey came from a cask that was an inspirational cask to John. And it was a blended grain whiskey that when we acquired the cask, we did where we acquired it from couldn't really tell us the origin or what distilleries were in there, but we knew it was old. We knew it was north of 30 years, and at bottling it was 33 years old. Wow. And I'm we call it the Muse cask. And so I was walking on a tour through our bottling facility with the group, and there was a cask sitting right in the walkway, right on the floor, and I sat down on it. And the woman that was giving the tour said, "Excuse me, sir, do you know what you're sitting on?" And I said,
Nope.
Not at all.
And she said, "Well, hop up and I'll open it up." And she popped it open and poured us a little bit of it. And it was probably one of the most beautiful whiskeys I had ever tasted. And that was a portion of that Muse cask that is going into that's in the Muse. So yeah.
Wow.
So,
Very
you
cool.
were sitting on the Muse.
That's really cool. Hey,
That's great.
we had
But also, I wanted to add with regard to the Muse, I wanted to just mention that the International Women's Day just passed just recently, and Compass Box has always celebrated International Women's Day going back about a decade. And this was also a way to celebrate the fact that out of 15 people that work for our company worldwide, 8 are women. So they make up the majority of the workforce for Compass
Good for
Box.
you guys,
so,
man.
This is also an ode to women.
Good for Compass Box, man.
It's
That's
kind of
awesome.
come to my attention that they're really starting to get their foot in the door of tasting and running and doing the business. And
Yeah, there's was it Whiskey Cask or something I saw. There was or maybe it was in the Whiskey Advocate. There was an article about the first female master distiller. She's distilling it.
Oh yeah,
right.
I can't remember
That
which
was the
one
first
was.
one at Woodford Reserve, yeah.
Hey, before it gets too late, I wanted to call out. So Bobby super chatted us $20, and
Thanks
then
so much,
and
Bobby.
KB just
Appreciate it.
super chatted us $49.99. And I wanted to point out to the subscribers out there, if you guys are watching and paying attention, down in the bottom right corner of the screen,
Yes.
our our resident techie, Drew Bills, there's the man, the myth, the legend. He created something for everyone to their competitive side. Basically, you see that little bitty meter, and it's basically like a game where the Scotch for Dummies are the boss character, and you guys need to take us down. And you take it down by making donations or subscriptions or whatever. And whoever is the one that kills that final bar, their picture, they now become the new boss.
Yep.
So if there's any competitive guys out there, go ahead and start tackling that. Chop away at that tree.
It's kind of fun, but yeah.
So yeah, create false names and subscribe.
Yeah,
Those
there you
kind of
go.
things.
There
Whatever
you
you need to do.
Keep it clean.
Gamifying our channel.
Pete, Tom asked a question. He wanted to know if you'd ever tried the General. And I don't know if this is a trick question or if he's setting me up. I have absolutely no idea. I just thought I would trust him and ask that question. Have you ever tried the General? And if you have, what did you think about it? So what's that mean? Somebody help me out here.
I don't know the general.
Yes, I have. I have tried it.
Okay.
Been fortunate enough to try it several times.
General.
And what do I think of it? I think it's beautiful. I think it's an amazing whiskey. This is a limited edition going back several years now. And, as one of the region managers in the United States, I can tell you that I probably get an email or a call at least once a week from a consumer somewhere asking, where can I get a bottle of General? And my response is always the same. If you find one, tell me, because I want to buy a bottle of it.
So you don't have a bottle.
So that's not on your
I
shelf
do
behind
not,
you?
no. I don't. In fact,
I'm not
I
reading it.
actually did just try it at a whiskey bar in Chicago last weekend or the weekend before last at Whiskey Fest called Fountainhead in Chicago. They have some. So if you're in the Chicago area, get down there tonight and try some of the General. It's a beautiful whiskey.
The race is on.
What was the name of the place?
What was the name of the place?
Fountainhead in
Fountainhead.
in Chicago. Yeah.
All right, Tom.
There you go, Tom.
Fountainhead.
Put it on your list there.
That'd be like cheating for Tom because he's a big Benny's fan. But I talked with you earlier, and you had showed me a bottle that you had behind you that I guess Compass Box put a special bottling together for Benny's, the liquor store chain up in Chicago, the really big liquor store chain up there for their 70th anniversary, I think it is.
Yeah.
70th?
Yep.
Does that sound right? So I mean, I can't see the screen, but if you could show everybody what that looks like, because I remember you showing it to me, and it had
It's
a
a cool
pretty
bottle.
cool
It's a cool
label.
bottle. I picked it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the
cool.
Benny's
Sure.
gold standard that John Glazer was working with Brett
Cool.
at Benny's for quite a while, 2 years plus, I think, on this project. And Benny's has always been a great partner of us, and we love them very much. And they're a great partner of us. So John did this blend, and we unveiled it at the Benny's World of Whiskey on that Thursday before Whiskey Fest in Chicago. It was a huge hit. We went through quite a bit of this, sampling it, and
What's it officially
it's great.
called
If you're in the
again?
Chicago area,
Gold
go
standard.
by and get it. It retails for $139.99. This is predominantly 22-year-old Kleinleach and 28-year-old Port Dundas.
Wow.
It's a beautiful blended Scotch whiskey with 85% malt and 15% grain. So
Sounds delicious.
I wish I could pour some right through the camera.
Yeah, smell-o-vision would be great.
I wish you could too.
We haven't figured that tech out yet. We're working on it. If we do, we're quitting our day jobs.
Anybody, Drew could figure it out.
We do have a lot of bells and whistles on our channel.
So is the Muse, the hedonism, the Muse, is that the next one? That's obviously the next one that's going to hit
That's
the
on the
shelves.
way.
I mean, that's literally
It's on
on
truck.
trucks on the way. What's coming down the pike after that? What's in the future for Compass Box in the next, I don't know, 6-12 months or something?
Without giving too much away, we've got this is going to be a big year for us, specifically for new products. We've got a new signature range item coming out. I don't want to say anything. I don't know if I should say what that
We'll have
is.
to talk
Hey, we won't tell anyone.
We're
Just tell
at the
us.
bar. Just talk to us.
No one watches us
You're
anyway.
sitting at our bar. Yeah, nobody's watching.
I promise you, this is going to be a very exciting year for Compass Box. We've got some great limited editions coming out. I would say definitely be on the lookout for another edition of Flaming Heart coming, maybe, possibly soon.
Okay.
I'm
right.
sure there's some fans out there anticipating that. And
Nice.
also, I don't think this is a secret because we talked a lot about it in Chicago at Whiskey Fest, is the 25th anniversary of Delilah's in Chicago. And some of you may know we did the 20th anniversary whiskey for Mike Miller, and Delilah's are also a great partner of ours. We love them very much as well. And we're doing their 25th anniversary whiskey as well. So keep an eye out for that in the next 60 days or so.
Nice.
So
You cover, since you cover the Midwest, you cover Chicago quite a bit, and you've talked about that quite a bit. What are your core cities in the U.S. that Compass Box
Really makes
focuses
headway.
on? Because Benny's, that's huge. Of course, Benny's is really good. I really like Benny's.
Certainly.
But
I can tell.
and then you've talked about quite a bit with Chicago, especially with Benny's coming in and doing their own gold standard. So that was really cool too. So what other main cities do you guys really look at and focus on right now?
Our big markets are pretty much paralleled with the biggest spirits markets in the country. New York, Chicago, of course. Atlanta is a big market for me. San Francisco, Los Angeles, the state of Texas is huge, as you know. They do quite a bit of Compass Box, and we're going into new markets all the time. So there's only a few of us on the street, so it's a lot of territory to cover. But we've got great distributor partners, and we are slowly but surely getting the message out. And that really is, for me and the other region managers in the United States, that's our number one, most important thing we do is getting our message out to the consumers. Because as Scotch whiskey blenders, we're oftentimes misunderstood. The word blend is often misunderstood with regard to the world of Scotch whiskey. It really takes a lot of educating, and that's what we're here to do. Every whiskey seminar or podcast at a time. So
Tasting is believing.
I'll flip that coin over and say, honestly, I think the term single cask, single malt, is more misunderstood than blending, because most people that don't know anything about Scotch, they hear single malt, they're picturing it coming out of a single cask, where 99% of single malts are vats.
But I also think that blended Scotch gets a bad rap.
It does.
And I think that there's a lot of blenders that are doing a really nice job.
Yeah.
Compass Box being at the top of that list.
But it didn't always used to be that way.
No,
back
a lot of times it was
changed since then.
It was cheaper scotches that were blended to be a mixing whiskey, or just a lower end whiskey. And now you get people that are blending it to highlight the flavors in that one particular barrel, or to kind of bring about a flavor profile that they really want to accentuate. And the way to do that, you said Ardbeg couldn't do this because they can't do this.
No, it's not what they do.
What you guys did with this bottle, I can tell you right now, I'm really trying
Love
not
it.
to pour another glass.
Yeah.
So good.
It's getting creamy. It's getting
love it.
creamier
It's
and
really,
creamier,
really
and
good.
it's
gonna
really
get some
just
high
softening
scores.
up. Yeah, when we get
Can we
around
say,
to reviewing
can we
this.
say wheelhouse?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. I said it
Wheelhouse.
I said it before anybody was in the basement.
So, Pete,
This would be your
what
thing.
we're talking about here is we all have our own phrases, and Andrew
This
was
is
the
most
big
popular.
Pete head.
In my wheelhouse. This is
You can see his
totally.
T-shirt. It says "My Wheelhouse," and
So,
this is.
I'm a Pete head. I love that, and I love what you've done with this, with the Pete forward, the sweet finish.
It's
So now
wonderful.
it's a thing on our lives when we say wheelhouse. It's
Drink.
drink.
Everybody drinks.
Yeah, and
I'm
that's
going
not a
back
bad
up to
thing.
Chicago in about 9 days, so
So you're
Okay.
gonna pick up a bottle for us?
So before I forget, let's see. I can't
Yeah,
even
lots
think who asked the question
lots of
now.
questions.
Maybe it was Sam
Well-
Everwin. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and get Telex to ask us some questions. He's got like 7 questions so far. Let's go ahead and get some of those
Okay,
going.
let's get him from Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead and let us know. Tell us what we have going on. I know you're like a 30-second delay, but we've got about 7 questions coming out.
Well,
gonna go ahead
while
and-
we're waiting, can I ask one?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so everyone had a question
no.
about limited releases. Basically, the question is about the Compass Box core range. You know, obviously, it seems like Compass Box puts out a lot of limited releases, and we all understand why. But is there a core range that we can expect Compass Box to hold on to forever? You know, in 5 years, am I still going to be able to get the King Street?
Yeah, I would say yes. With all the information I have right now, yeah, absolutely. Great King Street is here to stay for sure since 2010. Also with our signature range, the Peat Monster, that's not going anywhere, I'm sure. Spice Tree. I would, you know, and I'd also urge like your viewers and listeners, you know, our limited editions are definitely what keep people excited, and the anticipation is always there a couple times a year to see what we come out with next. But really, I would urge you to try some of our core range items: Spice Tree, Oak Cross, Peat Monster, the Great King Street Glasgow blend, as I said, seems to be a sleeper.
Yeah, I love that one.
These are amazing whiskeys that, and this is my opinion, they're amazing whiskeys that are quite affordable
They
for
are.
what you're getting. If you compare it to some of the big names.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Write that down.
Yeah.
What?
That King Street.
Oh,
Yeah,
I already
yeah.
I got that.
Yeah,
So the other
I got a
thing,
massive bottle of my
and
house.
there's some discussion while we're getting some questions coming in. The
Sure.
the deal with blended scotches is by far the highest volume of scotch throughout the world is a blended
sure.
scotch. You know, they're you know, the Johnny Walkers, there are the Grants, there's the
Ship's
Dewars
Revolt.
and Cutty
Right.
Sark and all those that are a global huge volume blend. Well, I see Compass Box is more of like a craft blend. You know, it's a smaller
Very
company,
much so.
clearly a much smaller company, smaller volume, with the interest in putting out good product. And so that's a little different than that's why blends
But they're
have a
bringing the
bad
best
taste.
of both worlds. I mean, they're bringing
Well,
everything.
yeah, absolutely.
That's what's great about it.
I mean, you can
right?
be creative with it. That's the beauty
Yeah.
of it.
I will say that
All
getting back to the limited edition, I have 2 bottles that I wish I had bought. One of them is the Tamdu Back Strength #1 because I kind of kicked it around and just didn't pick it up, didn't
I
pull the
remember
trigger.
that.
And the other one is Compass Box The Circus. And,
Yes.
you know, it was one of those releases that I saw, and it came out, and I saw it everywhere. Every time I went in a liquor store, I saw a bottle of it. And it was one of those that I was like, I'll pick it up the next time I come in. And then it was gone. And I was like,
And I happen to know the
That's-
Scotch
you know,
Test Dummies have a bottle
I
on their
really
bottle.
wish I would have bought a bottle of that.
It's open.
They opened it with John. So
Oh, they did.
yeah.
So, you know, I really, this bottle of No Name
Scott.
is
you send us a
amazing.
sample, Scott.
And
We'll compensate. We'll send you a sample of this.
sure, there'll be some left.
There I have some of
Well,
that.
we better pour it into the sample bottle now.
But I would absolutely, I really haven't had a bad Compass Box.
No, I agree.
What you guys are doing, it's
doing it.
all very good. So I'm,
All right, let's get to some of the
Yeah,
questions.
so there's I don't know 5 or 6 questions here. What is Compass Box's strategy to get into the state ABC stores like in Virginia? Do they have a plan to get into those markets more like PA?
Jeez, man, I wish I could give you a great answer on that. I don't cover those states, but what I can say is absolutely we want to be in those markets. but this question's probably coming from somebody who lives in those states,
Right.
and they probably know that it's just not easy to do business with those states, especially as a small brand. It's not real easy. So I guess the answer is, we're doing everything that we can, and as we grow, I think you'll see more and more of us in those control states, but also states like Virginia and Pennsylvania. I really can't speak about them because I frankly I don't know anything about them because I don't cover them and I never have. So I do cover a few in the Southeast, Mississippi being one, and it's difficult. It is. I mean, it's difficult, but you have to devote a lot of time in there, and you're up against bigger companies with huge marketing budgets. So I guess that's all I can really say about that.
Okay. So you guys need to have
That's
like
fair.
20 employees to be able to do that.
That would be great because I'm sure our
We
kids
could
output
probably
would be
get you to
much
20
bigger.
tonight if you got a
25.
There's 5 right here that would be willing to. Anyway.
So I'm looking at these questions that Telex has supposedly been gathering from the chats, and I'm going to ask them. But I got to say, Telex, they sound like they're really just questions.
I think they're
from
all
you.
telex.
I think these are Telex questions. Will Compass Box stay with... I'm going to skip that one and go to the next one. That's what I wanted. Will Compass Box update their website, or is there a listing for the bespoke bottles? Usually have to find those by word of mouth or intense searching. For example, Bounty Hunter.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the bespoke bottlings, you know what I would try, because I search for these a lot of times too when I get questions about bespoke bottlings that I don't know anything about. Like the Bounty Hunter was done out on the West Coast and or out west of here. Usually I just Google the name and Compass Box, and you will get a Google listing that's from Compass Box. So you'll be able to see a technical data sheet that you might not be able to find easily on the website. But it is out there. If you search for it, you can probably find it.
Okay.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Has Pete tried the last vatted malt, the last vatted grain, or any of the Canto casks?
He's smiling.
I have not tried those. And when I was in London, I saw them. They were there in London. Every one of the bottles are there in London. I heard the great story about the last vatted malt, but I have not tried them. I have not. If I ever walk into a store and see one, you can bet I'll buy it.
Oh my gosh. Well, there was one more, and it's for the dummies. Are there bottles that come to mind that you reviewed early on that you'd have a significantly different take on now? I would say
became the new boss.
I would say absolutely Telex, and we'll get into that in a second because
Hold on.
we just are Drew's little bitty boss meter on the bottom for super chats just got beat. The Scotch 4 Dummies
Santa
have
Cruz
now
is
been
now the new stream boss. That's pretty cool.
So Santa Cruzan is now the new stream boss for our channel.
I know it's kind of silly geeky, but it's still cool.
I love it.
Drew's geeking out back
Oh,
there.
yeah,
Unfortunately-
this is awesome. It's working.
Unfortunately, Santa Cruzan doesn't have a really creative picture to blast to get us taken down by YouTube.
Yeah, right.
Next
Big
week.
S.
Big ass.
Big S.
So everybody's geeking on it. That's pretty funny.
That's funny.
So I want to shout out to Rob too. Hey, Whiskey and Six. There's a couple of other whiskey tubers that are on the channel right now. Pete, Scotch Test Dummies, which had your boss John,
John
on
Glazer on,
via it was a telephone call
2-3 weeks ago, yeah.
a couple weeks ago, maybe a month, 3 weeks, month ago. So they're watching right now, and they're having an interesting conversation with everybody on. And then Whiskey and the Six up in Canada, which he might have an interesting perspective when it comes to markets, because I know Canada's laws on getting different various bottles are it's very stringent. He's got to deal with a lot more than we do. And then we got Telex, who's moderating our channel, and he has an after show. I told you about him earlier. So
And he has a
Sure.
And
ton of
the Whiskey Dick's on, Whiskey in the Six.
Whiskey Dick's there? I didn't see
Isn't
him.
it
Yeah, he
earlier?
was there earlier. I haven't seen an update recently, but he was on there.
Scott.
And Cato just sent us a $20.
Thanks, Cato.
super chat.
Wheelhouse,
Thanks,
y'all.
Cato. Yeah,
Wheelhouse.
So
You guys are empty.
let's
No, I'm not.
let's get you, since I can't see the screen and I don't really need to know because I know there's something behind you. So why don't you do us all a favor and just kind of tease us with some of those special bottles that you have back there. What do you have behind you that would really just catch someone's eye? Because I told you earlier when we did a test chat about 1 o'clock this afternoon that people are looking. There are people watching the stream right now that are trying to figure out what bottles are behind your head right there.
They're taking
So
screenshots.
you might as well just address that and grab a couple of the elephants in the room and put them front and center and let us see what you got there.
All right. Let me see what I got here. If there's any requests, let me know. But
Peated. I like peated.
He's pulling a few off the shelf, top shelf there. Oh man,
I like his shelves are full too.
We
Hey,
keep
Mark.
all our good stuff on the floor so you guys can't see it.
And Mark, you want some Old Forester bottled and bond?
I save that for fishing trips.
2 weeks.
Just want to make sure, man.
all right, got a couple here.
Fireproof.
all
All right,
right.
what do you got?
What do you got, Pete?
This is the. I spoke about Delilah's 20th anniversary. This is what
Oh,
that label looks like. This is the.
That's beautiful.
So about 5 years ago, we did that for Delilah's in Chicago. If you haven't been by Delilah's, it's a great. It's a punk bar.
There you go.
Nice.
The owner
Actually,
Mike Miller will.
I think
A
it's
lot
been
of people
around for
call
a
it
while, and I
one of
think
the
I've
best
been there.
whiskey bars in Chicago. Mike Miller, the owner, will say, "No, we're just a punk bar that happens to have a lot of whiskey."
Yep.
So I've got the Phenomenology, which is a limited edition that came out
Yep.
alongside of the No Name on
Yeah.
November 1st in the United States. A beautiful blended malt.
Yes, nice.
non-peated.
Also non-peated. Well, there's about 3.5% from Isla in there, so you will get a little bit, but the majority of this is 72% 21-year-old Glenlossie from Speyside. So
Ooh.
beautiful blend. The double single, which we put out in June of 2017. This is a kind of an ongoing concept that John Glazer does. The double single refers to this is a blended Scotch whiskey that's made from simply 2 components, 1 single malt and 1 single grain,
Ooh.
which
That's cool.
sounds very simple, but apparently that's extremely hard to do as a blender. And this is 72% Glenelgin, and the remainder is from Girvan. And also, I don't know if I mentioned about transparency. I'm speaking about ages. You guys really should be asking me if I can talk about the ages.
How
So I
old
will-
is
How old
the
are all of
whiskey?
those whiskeys you just said?
Yeah,
Is it kind of like that vampire
Yeah.
thing? You got to ask him in the house.
Yeah, we definitely covered that earlier. Okay, so
We-
we'll
we gotta-
continue.
we
that.
gotta-
We asked
This
it
is
way
what-
ahead of time, so you get the
Yes.
green light.
I got you. This is what's currently in my glass. This is the Spice Tree Extravaganza. This is one of my favorites. Also a beautiful blend of 6 Highland single malts with some significant sherry, Oloroso sherry butt aging, and some new French oak as well.
Pull the screen. Oh wait, I wanted to see that was a really pretty bottle. Do you
Yeah.
do you know which 6 whiskeys are in that?
Yeah, it's oh geez, I'm digging deep here. I know it's Kleinleash, Deluan, Tinanik. Jeez. Give me 1 second. I might have something here.
You know what I really like about Compass Box, and you guys are gonna think I'm stupid, but the artwork is.
I was gonna bring that
I
up.
was going to bring that up too.
extraordinary.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah, that's-
I mean, because I know.
That's got to be half your staff.
Well, I mean, I
Kevin's
watched
artwork.
the Test Dummies stream with John, and he was talking about how he's been, I think since day one, contracting out to this design company. But I don't know who helps with design or whatever, but all their bottles, I mean, there's a very symmetry and there's a very kind of consistent look to them. But I love it. I mean, it's completely beyond most Scotch bottles out there. And as a designer kind of guy, I just really appreciate that. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
I was amazed at how beautiful this bottle was when I pulled it out.
Even for
Yeah,
being
we,
all
are,
black.
we
It's
actually
beautiful.
got a
It's got
question
the
here
ice
coming on. What is in the Lucite box behind you?
Oh man, which one? There's some of our limited editions we put in those Lucite boxes. It just depends. The 3-year-old deluxe came in that. The Circus came in that.
Circus.
The hedonism quindecimus. That's what you see up there over my left shoulder.
Okay.
From here, and here is
He's getting good.
3-year-old deluxe circus and hedonism quindecimus. Yeah, which is our 15-year anniversary of hedonism, which is the first bottling that John Glaser did in 2000.
So when it comes to the artwork on the bottles, does Compass Box have an artist that they solely go to design? One go-to artist that does all of the labeling, the bottles, and the boxes, and all of that, or?
So we've been using a marketing company out of London that does our labeling for about the last decade, called Stranger and Stranger.
That's it.
And I just am such a big fan of their work. They do artwork for other bottlings as well, but I'm just such a big fan because I love these labels so much.
Yeah, they do a good job.
Yeah, they're all beautiful and all unique. You can tell that they're Compass Box, but they're all different enough that you can tell that they're a unique.
You know, I gotta quote this. We got somebody that just chatted something. I'm gonna quote this. This is a compliment to you, Pete. It says, simple diversions. The screen name of the guy says, if it's work to work, it ain't going to work. This guy's living life the right way. So you've got some fans, Pete.
They're another review crew, so they're doing good stuff.
Simple diversion, right? I mean, it's a great quote, and obviously it's a hat tip to you and what you're doing, and we can obviously see the passion and the joy and how much you really enjoy what you're doing. We're all jealous, at least I.
4 minutes. So guys, we are down to the last 3-4 minutes of the show. I know we could probably extend it a little bit if you want to, but I just want to give Pete some time to say thank you, obviously. But is there anything else, closing comments, anything that you want to say, anything you want to discuss with us or our audience here?
Something you want to share, anything? No, I mean, or not. We could just sit here and drink.
Which I'm not doing.
It's just in a bad thing.
Well, I mean, I wanted to thank you guys for having me on. I mean, I'm very humbled to come on and be able to speak about Compass Box in front of your viewership and your audience, and mostly, I mean, Compass Box, as I've been saying all along, we're a small company. I think we're putting out a great product, and we don't do a ton of commercial marketing. So it's all about us getting the message out to people one by one, and I mean, we'd appreciate it if you like what we do, tell a friend. Tell a friend and pour a whiskey for your friend and tell them a little bit about our company, because you're never going to see billboards of Compass Box whiskey on the highway, where it's just not what we do. So
we don't buy that stuff anyway.
I don't think you need to. I mean, honestly, there's a huge.
You get somebody walk into especially Ben. I'm going to reference Benny's again. That sees the artwork on this. They're going to go home. They're going to Google this.
They're going to find,
They're going to look up. They're going to find something like you on here talking about it, and they're going to get interested in it, and then
then they're hooked.
And then they'll pass it on to friend. I saw this great.
Because the nice thing is
one last thought is, and kind of building off of what you just said, is I mean, people are gonna want to look into what we do, and if you go to our website, you'll see it's like one of the most easy, comprehensive websites there are. And again, one of the cornerstones of our core beliefs is transparency.
Yep.
There's no secrets. We put out products with natural color and no chill filtration, and we'll tell you everything there is to know about our whiskeys. So if there's something that you want to know and you can't find it, email me. You can go on our website and you can click and email me directly, or give me a call or email any of us, and we'll get back to you and tell you what you need to know.
One of the things that really caught my eye the first time I went to your guys' website was the educational aspect of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I spent a ton of time on it, just reading and learning about not just Compass Box, but the whole art of what distilling whiskey is. How's whiskey made? How's it blended? What does this mean? I mean, I came back. I remember coming down here to our show and going, man, that's a kick-ass website.
Of all the Scotch sites, it really is informative, just in general informative.
Right.
A big shout out and thank you to you guys for everything you do, because I really appreciate it.
And thank you to
Thank
you
you.
personally, Pete, for coming on, giving us, an hour of your time. I know this takes a little coordination, and this is a late time, but we really appreciate it. I know our subscribers enjoyed it, and I know they were looking forward to this, and we'll all go back and watch this now that it'll be on YouTube just to see what we missed. And there'll be some further questions, and we already know that we can email you about that, and we really thank you for that. So the next thing is I hope that some way, somewhere, where we cross paths, whether it's at a whiskey expo or you better yet just a bar where we can really get crazy with the cheese whiz. But
you're now searchable on YouTube, by the way. So
yeah, your name is now searchable on YouTube. So
Oh, well, thank you guys.
Things are gonna get
no problem. We got you, Corey. No problem.
Things are going to get busy now. Aside from that, anything else? Was there anybody on the chat? Are we missing anything? Anyone?
I think we're good. There's a few questions. We'll come back and get to those. But
okay.
I just want to say thank you again. I appreciate your time. It was a great stream and good questions. Very cool.
Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Pete, we really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody. Cheers.
Wheelhouse, guys. We'll see you guys
Good
next
evening.
time. Next week.
You can hang on a second, Pete.
Thanks, Pete.
All right.